much. Professor, would you like to take it next and maybe also give us a little bit of the current flavor given the threats posed by the ongoing uncertainty over Greece and some of the other things hanging over us?
Yeah, sure. I'd be
My
happy
favorite topic.
to start. Everything seems to start with Greece and hopefully not end with Greece, but certainly Greece has done it again. You know, it has highlighted the incompleteness of the monetary union. It's shown how vulnerable ultimately the construct still is. Maybe not as vulnerable financially as it used to be. Financial contagion, I think, is all being estimated as being vastly diminished compared to a few years ago. But there are other forms of contagion that are still there. They may include political contagion, or even just the expectation that if there is a first case that exit is actually maybe not feasible, or not desirable, but ultimately a undesired result, then there is still the question how this could impact on the rest of the Eurozone. So Greece has certainly done it again too, and it could, if the positive interpretation or the positive hope that what could come out of this is not only that there is a solution for Greece that is mutually acceptable for all the partners, but also that it could be the trigger, it could be the catalyst for a further step of overcoming this crisis. Because that's the second thing that Greece is showing, is that the long shadow of this crisis is still very, very much with us. And the complacency that seemed to have set in a year ago when all of a sudden financial markets, and to a certain extent still financial markets, are not really panicking at all. So the ECB has done it there very clearly. But the vulnerability is there, and it could come back. And therefore, the question is, what would have to be done in order to basically leave this shadow behind? And here I want to just offer a perspective of a report that I'm currently working on together with a few colleagues from the CEPR in London. They include economists from all over Europe, so we are a European group. And our assessment is that one of the things that needs to be overcome is ultimately the debt overhang from the last crisis. So we have a debt overhang, both public and private, but even the public one in current estimates is going to be with us for such a long time that it is bound to affect negatively investment growth and can contribute to leading us, or basically staying in such a state of low growth, low inflation, or lowflation, or even deflation, and hugely diminished expectations. So if this diagnosis is correct, that we need to overcome the debt overhang, then the suggestion, what we are actually advocating, is to have a coordinated one-off debt reduction program for all the Eurozone countries, which would include a combination, a menu of options. A lot of it could be done through buyback of debt by countries themselves, and we offer different varieties of how this could be accomplished. It could also include some GDP indexed or threshold indexed bond exchanges. And however, what we strongly encourage is that this should be an effort that basically takes us all the way out of the debt burden. Restructurings are usually done too little and too late. So doing just a little bit is not going to do it. If you want to have a one-time effort, this should be the one that takes all countries down to a level where then there is no more questions about sustainability, nor about vulnerability to certain increases in interest rates. And the second component, the second part of such a package would have to be a vastly improved fiscal rule, vastly stronger incentives to not go into overborrowing again. That has to be implemented somehow through a restructuring regime for the future. And the proposal there is to basically use the new proposed IMF lending framework, which the IMF is now proposing to amend in eliminating the systemic exception in its exceptional access framework. Essentially what that does is to strongly tighten the criteria around when and at what instance restructuring becomes not only an option, but a necessary next step before further lending can be given to a country. Because again, the temptation both of debtors and creditors is to restructure too little, too late. And this, of course, then in an ex-ante sense incentivizes overborrowing. So that's what I was, in a nutshell, what I wanted to offer as a possible package that should be tabled, and hopefully we will not be in a situation where Greece basically puts us into a high crisis mode again. But this is a problem that is not going to go away. The debt overhang is not just going to go away. There is a need to think deeper about how to deal with it.